here. So thank you for this opportunity to talk to you and ask you some questions, that I want to know and people want to know and, get to know you a little bit. So, Stacey, where are you from?
I'm from a small town in Arkansas, very close to Oklahoma.
Okay. And how long have you been here from Arkansas?
I moved to Dallas in 1996 to complete my degree in interior design. And for the most part, I've been here since then. Other than a year, I lived in Los Angeles and a couple of years back in Arkansas.
So you're from a small town?
Yes.
What's a small town? How many people?
Maybe 3,500 at best.
So you went from the small town to the big town.
Yes.
Were you itching to leave?
My aunt lived in several different places. She lived in Houston. She lived in Lufkin. And so when I was growing up as a kid, I would come and spend a couple of weeks with her every summer. And she would take me exploring. And so I knew that I loved Texas, and I knew that I loved the bigger city and just the opportunities that are here. And so I went to college in Arkansas, and then I moved here and haven't looked back.
Can you go back to living in a small town?
Maybe when I'm 70, but not right now.
When you say not right now, what is it? What doesn't a small town have for you that you need? Because you said when you're older.
Sure.
So.
Employment opportunities. That was a big reason why I moved back. So I did own a small business when I was there back in 2009 to 2013. And it was hard to make a living because it's very working class.
Okay.
And unless you own a business that people truly need that service, such as an ambulance service or an insurance agency or a lumber company, it's hard to make a living there and pay a mortgage and a car payment and all of that stuff by yourself. So I knew that I wanted to move back here. And when I was there, I owned a bakery. That's not a service that people need. So it's a luxury. And when the economy took a downturn back then, it was something that was considered a luxury to a lot of people. And business was not great there at the end. So I closed up shop.
And how long did you have that bakery for?
For about a little over 2 years. I was doing it independently. I didn't have a business for a while, just out of my home. And then I opened a storefront for about 2 years.
Wow. So what made you, okay, first of all, did you go, when you got your degree, did you do what you went to school for?
Yes. So I moved here and went to work for an interior designer. Actually, he's also from Arkansas originally.
Okay.
And he paid, which is not something that you find very often in internships, at least back in the late 90s. And so I went to work for him, and then I set up his entire inventory system for his antique store. And he really gave me a lot of freedom to learn and to grow my talent. And we're still in touch to this day. And he's an amazing residential designer here in Dallas, and I learned so much from him. So, yes, I did that for a period of time, and then went back into the insurance industry, which is something that I did when my first job at 16 was in an insurance agency.
Okay. Not McDonald's or anything like that.
No,
straight
I went
to
straight
insurance.
He was hard. He was a hard boss at 16, but shaped me to be a hard worker probably for my entire life. So it was a great experience.
So you grew up, both your parents?
Yes. Both my parents still alive, still in the house I grew up in.
Okay, very nice. How long have they been married? Do you know? I don't want
to ask me. It
was a long time.
They got married in 1970.
Okay, so now I got to do math too. So that's
50-something years.
50-something years.
Yes.
Okay. And you have brothers and sisters?
I have one sister. She's 7 years younger.
Okay, 7 years. 7 years.
So I was the mother hen to her growing up. Yes.
So when you left, it was like our girl is leaving us, and you're leaving your little sister and your parents. And
we weren't close back then because I was 18 and she was 11. So that's that's a big divide. That's
true.
As we continued to grow older, then we became close.
Gotcha.
We had a lot more things in common. But yeah, she was probably like, oh, well, now I can be an only child when I left.
Right. She could be special and get everything.
Yes.
So you owned a bakery. That means you were into baking.
Yes, still am.
You're still into baking. Mm-hmm. This is another thing that you do on top of being the president.
Yes.
And then having your career.
So in 2020, I was laid off due to COVID.
Okay.
My job at the time was 75% travel, and because the company was...
When you say travel, like outside the country or in the country?
Outside of Dallas,
okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
So other states. And the company I was working for at the time did not want the employees traveling. So essentially I couldn't effectively do my job. I did it for about 6 months via Zoom calls and FaceTimes, but what I do, I need to be there in person. And so I was laid off, and I was like, what am I going to do? I have a mortgage. I have a car payment. How am I going to make it? And unemployment was just a drop in the bucket compared to what I'd been making. So I started up my baking business again and started selling coffee cakes and special items like at the holidays. And I think I probably made, $1,500 profit just one holiday.
Yes.
So I supplemented my unemployment by kind of starting up my bakery business again. You
know, what I really like about you since I met you in the short time I've known you is when I met you, you were dirty. Your nails were dirty. You were sweaty. You were picking up trees. You were picking up branches and everything, and you were cleaning up. But then when I seen you at the meeting, the HOA meeting, you just totally different, so you could do it all. Like you seem like someone that's approachable, someone could talk to you. Sometimes when people get to certain positions, they kind of think they're better than other people or they look down. So what makes you grounded like that? Is it that small town that you grew up in, or what is it about you that makes you feel down to earth?
I would say if you don't know me, I'm a little quiet. I'm usually pretty reserved until you get to know me. And so I would in this community in 2018 I met B, and she's one of your neighbors. Yeah. And we became best friends immediately. So she is very social. She knows everybody in the neighborhood that has dogs, or just knows everybody in the neighborhood. Okay. And so she kind of brought me out of my shell in the neighborhood. Okay. So I started meeting a lot more people, and it made me kind of become more social.
So you became social later on in life? Like, because you went to...
I've always probably been easygoing, I guess, and I'll talk to anybody. I've never met a stranger, so that might be something I've always had. It is. Yeah. But here, I don't know. I just liked being anonymous, which is why I moved back to the city from a small town. And then I moved here, and I'm not really anonymous anymore. So,
Gotcha. Now, you did the baking thing when it was rough, when you got laid off. And I was asking you earlier, and, one of the main things I want people to hear or know is you moved here 2014. You weren't on the board.
No.
You became the president like a year and
this year.
This year you became the president.
I just joined the board last July when there was an opening. There was an opening.
So were you looking forward to that opening? Or did that just was...
I had put in my application before, and then in the midst of them selecting someone, I was promoted with my old company, and that's when I moved into the 75% travel. And so I didn't feel that it was fair at the time to take on that position and not be able to devote my energy to it. So I revoked my application to join the board several years ago. And then when the opening came this past summer, I thought, you know what? We're going through several things as a community that I have experience and knowledge of, and I think I can help. And so that's really what led me to apply and kind of join the board. So I became the president in January of this year.
Okay, there's a few questions. So from what you were saying earlier, there were some things that you felt needed to be changed. So you figured either you're going to hold them accountable to change it, or you were going to do something about it. So is that why you became the president? Because you felt like maybe the other prior electives were not doing
No, I don't think that that's the case. I think it's a very difficult job, and everybody just does the best that they can with the information or the time or the talent surrounding them at the time.
Yeah.
But I do deal with property management companies on a daily basis, and I have for years. And so I know the ins and outs of what you should expect as an owner and what you should expect from the service that they're giving you. And so I didn't personally feel as though we were receiving what we should have from our management company. And so I wanted to join the board to kind of figure out what that was, what we were lacking there, and how to make it better. And, I can't take credit for all of the change myself. It's a group effort always.
Definitely.
And I think that that we're starting to enter a phase where I'm very hopeful. Our new manager has just been a blessing, and I think he's going to be an amazing asset to the community.
Very good. Is he the gentleman that came from another place that they also had their own disaster?
Yes, he is. His name's Jason.
Jason.
So, yes, he managed a high-rise condo, and they had a collapse of their parking garage. And so he, we're still navigating the 2019 tornado that Chimney Hill endured. So I think that he had some experience with what that means and how to handle it and how to handle homeowners and make them feel like they're heard. And so I think that he brought that talent to us.
Okay. It's also pretty early, so we gotta watch him, right?
We are, but he, just in the 3 weeks that he's been here,
yeah,
the changes that I see within the office, which are difficult for homeowners to see just yet,
yeah,
but prioritizing things, creating a schedule for the staff, and really just guiding them, giving them some guidance, which hadn't been in place for some time.
yeah.
If you don't know what you're being held accountable for, how can you do your job effectively? And so communicating to them what he expects of them. And one thing that I really liked about him was that he had done everybody's job before. So he had spent the day with maintenance. He had spent the day with groundskeepers and housekeeping and the front concierge staff.
Yeah.
So he knew what it takes to do their job. So he's not going to ask somebody to do something when he has no knowledge of what that would require. And I think that says a lot about him as a leader.
Definitely, because, when I was in the military, we had drill instructors. So we couldn't get mad at the drill instructors because they were doing exactly what we were doing, all the push-ups, all the running and everything. So when I saw you outside, picking up trees and having, cleaning, what was that thing on a Saturday? It was
just our neighborhood cleanup, community cleanup day in honor of Earth Day. So
that was good. So Jason seems to have some of those traits of being hands-on and understanding the process and working with the team and working with everybody.
One thing that I really like that he's already put into place that the neighborhood should be able to see is that he's walking the neighborhood every day. So you will see him on the streets. He may be sending violations, but he's also just walking and looking at things and making a list of what's wrong here and how can we fix it. And that is something that I've always held my managers accountable for on any of my properties, is that you should walk your property every day. And if you don't, how do you know what's going on? And so I love that he's doing that.
Yeah, I saw his name on the site, and he was saying that if you want to get your port or garage inspected or your whatever,
house,
whatever needs to be fixed or
he will look at it and he'll tell you what needs to be done before sending you a violation.
Right, and then you get a 30-day.
You get a grace. Yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
It really is. I think it goes a long way. I think one of the things that we struggle with here is community involvement. You hear a lot of people that are angry or upset or disappointed, but there's not as much involvement to counterbalance that. And so you typically have a set of 20 to 40 homeowners. Well, that's only 10% of our population here.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to move things forward sometimes without assistance of other homeowners.
Why do you think there's a lack of involvement? Do you think people are busy? Do you think people are not motivated? What do you think the reason is?
I think there's a lot of reasons. It could be, COVID, to be quite honest. We had a lot of homeowners purchase in the neighborhood in the last couple of years. Well, we weren't gathering together as a community. We weren't doing any social events. So I think it's hard to get plugged in as a new homeowner. How do I meet my neighbors? How do I know what's going on? How do I make friends here? And I think we're just this year getting back to the point where we're hosting social events. We're able to gather together safely. And I think people are starting to come out and meet each other and see, well, maybe what I see online, that where people are unhappy, maybe that's not the whole neighborhood. Maybe that's just some that are experiencing personal frustrations.
Right.
So I think that could be one of the reasons. I think also, too, that we have a lot of legacy homeowners here that have been here since the community was built. And so they don't get as involved anymore. They've kind of done their time. They have their friends here. And so they really want to turn that over to, the younger generations that are moving into the community.
So I have a question. So
Sure.
How do you become, you became the president. How does the election work? How do you get chosen? What's the process?
Well, for me, I was appointed to the board last summer because someone had to resign.
Okay.
So I was appointed by the board to join them.
Okay.
And that is what has happened. Right now we had two openings. One was been filled, and then now we have one that's going to be filled on Monday.
Okay.
But otherwise, we have an election every December, and it alternates between 4 seats or 3 seats that are available. So you do a 2-year term.
Okay.
So you would be elected. You would campaign essentially for your neighbors to vote for you, and then whoever's elected, then those people are the ones that decide who's going to hold what office, whether that's secretary or treasurer or vice president or president.
When I went to the meeting, the second one, I've only been to 2 meetings, moved in December.
Good track record there.
So I was listening to some of the the homeowners' questions that they were asking, and they seemed like they weren't happy about certain things. So when I think of a job like this, the position that you're in, I think that you have to. It's so many people that you have to, let's just say, please. That, like, how do you? It takes a certain kind of person to withstand people that are not happy. So how do you, like, after a while, it seems like this might take a toll sometimes with when people are not as supportive, because
it does.
Yeah.
I mean, when you join that it's thankless and you're going to receive a lot of criticism for your decisions.
Yeah.
So you go in knowing that that's most likely going to be the case.
Well,
And,
let me ask
regardless in
yeah.
any position, you're not going to please everyone. I don't
Yeah.
please everybody in my day-to-day job that I get a paycheck for. So
Yeah.
just as a volunteer, I'm sure
Right.
not going to get everybody to buy in. I hope that at the end of the day, I hope that people can say that I worked hard
Yeah.
for the community.
No, that's good. I mean, to step up, to be part of the solution, that's a big deal, man. I when I looked at that and I saw you, in both facets, outside working and then inside being professional, it was good for me because it motivated me to want to be a part of what you're doing or what the plans are, or bringing people together, because it's a lot easier when people are together.
Yes.
So we just have to find out more ways to get people to come together, right?
Right. I think you're right. We're trying to host something every month, encourage people to attend, and it's hard even as a new homeowner, but, like I said before, I'm a little reserved if you don't know me. So in some cases, even if I'm there, I'm a little quiet.
Yes.
Because like you touched on, there's a lot of criticism that gets thrown your way, and it can take a toll on you.
Yeah.
I don't probably put myself out there as much as I did before I was in this role because, you have attacks on your character or your reputation. And there's a lot of things that I can't disclose as
Sure.
a member of the board. And so I, one thing that I've always tried to do in my life since I was a young girl, and it really stems from my grandmother, but is to always, take the high road, be classy. Because at the end of the day, if you still respect yourself and you know that you've made the right decisions, don't worry about defending yourself. As long as I'm right with me and I'm right with God, at the end of the day, that's okay.
you know, I definitely believe that. I remember one time I had a friend of mine. This is back in the '90s. Military friend of mine. We got into it, and then then I later on, like a few days later, I apologized to him. I said, "Can I talk to you?" And I apologized to him, but he's like very like hard headed, and he's like, so I apologized to him, but I knew that even though I apologized, he still may not be my friend.
Right.
However, I felt good with myself,
yes,
knowing that, hey, look, I'm going to do this. I'm doing this because this is the right thing to do. It doesn't really matter. Of course, I want him to be my friend, but if he decides not to be friends, that's okay because my conscience is clear.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you do the right thing, as long as your conscience is clear, then you're fine with what happens after. So very good. Now I'm going to get into you because you're reserved. You are reserved.
I'm a lot of fun, but at first I can be quiet.
Okay, so we're going to get into your life and what's going on in your personal life. So are you married?
No, I'm divorced.
Okay, so that means you were married.
I was married for about 8 years.
Married once?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's still very much my best friend.
Oh, you guys are still friends?
We're still very, very close.
Okay. I think you kind of answered this. Did you have kids?
We did not have children, and right now I don't have any pets.
You don't have any pets. Okay, you need to get a pet, right?
I know, but I travel quite a bit for my job, so I don't think it's fair to get a dog and leave it all the time.
That's good. That's true. I believe the same thing, but some people don't. So with your traveling, how often do you travel?
It's about to pick back up. It just, it's kind of come in waves depending on if COVID's bad. My company will discourage some travel if it's not necessary.
And how long have you been with that company?
I started last April. So when I was laid off in September of 2020, I started my bakery business. I started an online resale business. So I was keeping busy. And I was kind of looking for a job, but also just thinking that the right thing was going to come to me too. And it did. A recruiter found me on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, okay.
And so essentially what I do now is what I was doing for my previous company. And so it was just a natural progression for me to step right into the role. So now I'm traveling probably, I spend usually 1 week in Indy every month, which is where the home office is for the company that I work for. And then after that, I will go to a market wherever we're building or we're going to do a project and kind of explore the market, look at what our site looks like there, what my recommendations would be on what the competitors are doing and how we should, what we should do to compare or be better than them. So I do a lot of market research. So I would say probably 2 other weeks, and it's not usually a full week that I'm gone. So I can be gone at some level for 3 weeks out of the month.
Do you like traveling?
I love it. I love going to see new states and new places and get to do new experiences.
Now, back to you. So you travel, you meet people, you like to, see new states and all that. You're still good friends with your ex-husband,
yes,
right? So would you ever get married again?
I would.
You would?
Yes.
Okay.
But I would say at my age, it's hard to find someone that's that understands how hard I work and how much time is consumed with both my job because I love it, as well as right now my HOA time. So it's hard to find somebody that's willing to, I don't want to say put up with that, but understands that drive and has that drive themselves.
Wouldn't you just need someone else that's busy, just like you're busy?
Yes.
And then you guys, if you really want to be with each other,
a lot of people that are in their career when they're this, like I'm almost 50.
Yeah. When
they're close to 50, they're kind of winding down somewhat. They're not on the upward trajectory of their job, their career path anymore.
Right.
So they're very stable, and a lot of times they have a lot more free time. Well, right now I don't have much free time, so we'll see. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
I realized, I remember one time I was dating this nice young lady, and she lived kind of far, and I would see her after work, and then I stopped. I was like, oh, I'm tired today, or I'm going to go home, or, and then a few days of that, she's like, and she said this to me. She said, if you really wanted to see me, you being tired wouldn't be a problem. So, and I had to think about that. I was like, oh, you're right. If I really wanted to see you, I would, but then I decided to break up with her.
She's not the one for you. She wasn't the one.
Right. But that was good that she said when you really want to do something, you'll find the time.
Agreed.
So I believe like if somebody wanted to be with you and you like them, that no matter how much you worked, whatever time you happen to give them, they would take. I know. So another question is, since you're traveling and meeting people and stuff like, is that there's still going to be a 2-part question, but do you meet people that are like potential prospects or interests?
Yes, I have.
You do?
I do. I have, yes.
You don't have to tell me your type, but are you picky, would you say?
Yes.
Okay, so people that know, like your friends, know that, oh, Stacey's picky.
Yes.
Do you think you're too picky? I don't know.
I'm not sure if they would say that I was too picky, but maybe I am.
Okay.
But you have a high standard.
You have high standards, definitely. Now, this is the question I wanted to ask you, because I could feel your presence, and that's why we're here today, because when I met you, I felt your presence.
Okay.
So, do you feel like you might intimidate men?
Yes, I do.
I knew you did.
I'm confident. I'm educated. I carry myself well. I have a great job. I'm very involved in my community. A lot of things like that can be intimidating to men. To a man that's not ready for a woman like me.
Right.
A strong woman.
Right. I was back in Florida. There was this girl I saw in the gym, and I've seen her a few times, and I was talking to her, and she looked like really good. Everything looked good about her. And, and I talked to her, and I was asking her questions like, so what's going on in your personal life? Are you, seeing anybody? And she told me guys are scared. They're intimidated. And I felt that they might be. But it's like, I guess it's different types of guys, because in my experience, and I'm sharing this, is that I noticed that like let's just say a guy that, let's just say, may not have a chance with you. Like, you might be out of his league. Mm-hmm. He's okay with trying to talk to you because he's going in there, I'm going to get shot down anyways. Right? So there's nothing to lose. There's everything to gain. Right? But then somebody that's like maybe your status, or somebody that, I don't know, good looking, money, and they're the ones that seem to be like either intimidated or they're sensitive if they get shot down.
Right. I think a lot of cases, or at least from my experience, that men really want a woman that needs them, that they can help or save or problem solve. And I don't need a man to make my life complete. I have a great job. I have a wonderful home. I have great friends. Yeah. It's full. I can change a toilet myself. I can hang a piece of drywall. I don't need a man to do all of those things for me. However, would I love to have somebody that would complement my life and add to it? Absolutely.
I like that. Complement your life. Yes. That's all you're looking for. Or not even looking for. What if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, but it'd be nice for someone to complement your life. Yes. I'm going to start using that or sharing that one. That's such a nice way of putting it. Okay, very good, very good. So I want to get to know you a little bit more. What is if you have to choose one movie, I know it's hard. If you had to choose a movie that's one of your all-time favorites, you could do top 2 or you could just do one, but I just want to know what movie it is and why is this movie one of your top movies?
I guess I have 2. One is more broad and one is very specific. So across the board, any James Bond movie is my favorite. I love all James Bond movies, but I especially love Sean Connery as James Bond.
Oh, yeah. He's the original, right?
No, he's not the original.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Hold on. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And then the specific movie that I love is Lonesome Dove. It's a Western.
Western. Yes. A Lonesome Dove. What's that? What is it about?
I'm going to bring it to you and leave it in your mailbox for you to watch it.
I need to watch this.
It's just about 2 cowboys and a bunch of supporting players, but kind of crossing the country back in the days before it was really developed, and running cattle across the country to start a ranch.
Okay.
And they did, and just encountered a lot of things, like trials along the way. And back then, there were still Indians, cowboys and Indians was essentially how the world
black
was.
and white.
Is the movie? No, it's in color.
Okay.
And it just, Robert Duvall, do you know him?
I might know his face.
Oh, you would if you saw it.
Okay.
It was in the movie, and just a lot of well-known people that you probably don't realize were in that. But I don't know. I just love the spirit. I love the friendship between the two cowboys. At the end, one of them passes away, and it just broke my heart. It still does. Every time I watch it, I'll still cry. But there's some great one-liners, and it's just really, really a good story.
Could you give me one of the one-liners?
No.
Or give it people? No?
It's not appropriate.
All right.
The ones that I know.
I'm going to check it out. I always watch movies that people recommend because I want to see what somebody else likes, what they're into or what they're getting out of the movie. So I think movies describe a lot about someone. Definitely. So let's get back into the HOA business. So what's going on with the, from what I remember last with the meeting is that we were looking at 2 different companies to do the work. One was like 1.3 million.
Oh, yes, for the fire rebuild homes. So we had 3 homes that burned down in February of 2021 during the big freeze.
Yep.
And so we have had to go through the process of, we had to get plans drawn up, and we had to, tear down all the stuff that was left and clear all that. And it's been a long process, but we had to get bids from general contractors, and so we've made a decision on which contractor we're going to use, and we're pretty much at the point where I think we'll sign the contract tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
There was a series of meetings last week, right?
There was a meeting last week, a special meeting on the insurance renewal for the community.
And how did that go, or what was the result of that?
Well, there really isn't a lot that can be changed right now.
Okay.
I know that there's some movement for change in the community, but that's going to be a long process based on how our governing documents guide something like that. It's a fundamental change for the neighborhood. The neighborhood was founded on, the community had a master insurance policy, and it covers all of the exterior of our homes and all of the common areas, the pools, covers our liability, in case someone were to get injured at the pool, a lot of things like that. And so that's the policy that the community was founded on. And there are a lot of homeowners that would like to take on that coverage themselves, meaning they want to cover their own home. And I'm not saying that can't be done, but it would be a long process to get something like that done, because you've got to think of all the potholes that are going to come, which means, what if my neighbor doesn't have enough coverage, even though they are told how much coverage to have? So, for example, the HOA says everybody has to have $250,000 coverage if they have this square footage. And the neighbor says, oh, well, my, tax roll says that my property is valued only at 180, so I'm not going to get 250.
Right.
So what do you do? How do you, there has to be a repercussion to that. What if there's a loss and they did not have enough coverage, or they let it lapse, they didn't pay it? There's a lot of things to think through, so that's not going to be a quick change.
Right.
But we had a meeting to renew the existing coverage.
Okay, and I had a bunch of questions while you were talking.
That's okay.
So one of the questions was, somebody was explaining to me that if we had our roofs were Category 1 roofs, like if they were like all...
It's 4. Category 4
Category
is what...
4.
So we have 404 townhomes, and I think we have, don't quote me, but 60-something, maybe 80-something tile roofs, the clay tile. And those are considered Category 4. So they can withstand wind speeds up to 150 or whatever, because they're made for bad tornadoes, whatever. So
right.
Essentially, when the neighborhood was hit in 2019 with the tornado, those roofs with the clay tiles were had very minimal damage. And so the rest of us have shingles, which are not Category 4.
Right.
So a lot of us had damage. There was a storm in June 2019 with some hail and just heavy, crazy rain and bad wind. And then we had that tornado in 2019 in October. So 2 storms with a lot of different sections of the neighborhood that were damaged. So we are still in mediation with the insurance company on what they will pay us in order to make those repairs.
Okay. Now with the homeowners association and all the homeowners, what is the biggest misconception of, like, because your job's not easy, what you guys have to do, we don't know everything that's being done behind the scenes. So what is the biggest misconception maybe that homeowners don't know that you have to do or go through, because we don't know anything. Not that we don't know anything, but what is it that you have to do maybe that they don't know that you have to do?
I think unless you've served in this role, you don't realize some of the things that go into the decisions that you hear about. I can't tell you that stuff, but, we can't. There are things that go into decisions, whether it's legal situations or financial situations. And, I think people do forget that we're homeowners too, and we're just volunteers. So we're not getting paid for this. We are just trying to, I think everybody has a skill or a talent that they can lend to the HOA. And we are here hoping to make the best decisions that we can at the time, and hindsight's 20/20. So maybe we didn't make the right decision, or maybe somebody 2 years ago made a terrible decision, but with the information that they had at the time, they probably did the best that they could.
So I remember at one of the meetings, this young lady was going back to older dockets or whatever, and bringing up things that maybe you wouldn't know because you weren't doing it. Right. So how do you answer those questions or fix whatever they're asking when you weren't there?
Well, first off, I'm like, I don't know the answer to your question, but I'm willing to research it and get back to you. And I think that's all that we could do, whether that's our day-to-day job or serving in a capacity on the board. I don't know the answer, but I'm going to look into it, and I will get back to you.
Okay, definitely. Because nobody knows all the answers.
No, I don't know all the answers. I wasn't incredibly involved in the HOA when I moved here. Yeah. I probably didn't come to very many meetings until I met B. So,
And what keeps you going, period? The goal of getting this community together and the good feeling of accomplishing something. Are you one of those people that, when you accomplish something, you feel good? I mean, everybody does, but
I feel like there's so much to accomplish here that I don't ever feel like I've accomplished anything. So there's always something more or something bigger or something more pressing. I think hiring a new manager that seems to love this community as much as we do is going to make a big difference in how I feel about forward progress for the community. Now, getting the homes rebuilt, I don't think it'll complete under my watch as president, but I think that getting it started and getting it going and getting close to the finish line by the end of the year will mean a lot to me. And, previous boards, last year's board worked on that, quite a bit, and this year's board as well. So it's not just me. I can't take credit for anything. It's a group of people.
Okay, very good, very good. If I had to do something to help the homeowners association and the community, what kind of things can I do as a homeowner to help?
I think educating yourself on what our governing documents are and what that means as far as the rules that we agree to live by while we're here. But I also think, come to meetings, meet your neighbors, have your neighbors over, hang out, listen to what each other's concerns are, how you can be a better neighbor. But in addition to that, make suggestions to the board. We have the HOA email address. Reach out and say, hey, what about this idea for a social gathering? Or I'm willing to help. Volunteer on a committee. It's really hard to get volunteers in this community. And I don't say that, to disparage anyone, but everybody has a job, and we're getting, the community as a whole is getting younger and younger, which means everybody's got a career and they're pursuing that. And so they don't necessarily have the time to devote. But even if you have just a little bit of time, I think that getting involved on a committee that interests you and you feel like you can bring good ideas and hang out and meet people and get more involved, that's the way to get plugged in and help the community.
Very good, very good. Now, the insurance last year went up 100%, right?
No, it was 2 years ago.
2 years, it was 100%.
After the 2019 storm, which those claims are still open, our insurance doubled.
Okay.
So for just an example, when I moved here in 2014, my insurance was around $675.
Yeah.
Last year it was around $2,400. That's a huge jump, and it's really hard for somebody to budget.
That's 3 times right there. No, that's 4 times.
So it had gradually gone up just a little, and then when it doubled 100%, and then last year it went up 50%. So it didn't
50%.
double, but it did. So we had several options to look at for this year, and based on where we are with our current claim, and if we were to have a loss before this claim is resolved through the mediation, we essentially wouldn't have coverage on our roofs as it is. So we made the decision not to buy down the wind and hail deductible as we have in the past. And that means there most likely won't be much, if any, of an increase to homeowners this year.
When I heard that was a big deal. I mean, I just moved here, so I wasn't here for the increase because everybody was warning me about that increase. They're like, get ready for it. Have you heard about the increase?
I know.
I was like, no, what increase? Oh, it's about to double. We paid this much, and then they would tell me all this stuff. And so it's good to hear and ask you these questions or go to meetings so you can find out more about what's
really going on.
Yeah, what's really going on, because you know how rumors go and you know how people talk, and you ever play that game where you tell somebody a word
and then by the end of the string or whatever, the line of people, it's completely off. And so, yes, coming to meetings and listening to those things. I think that meeting was very helpful and insightful. Yeah. That we're 7 individuals, or we're 6 individuals right now.
Yeah.
We don't always agree. We're people. We have individual viewpoints and experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthy for the community to see that everybody isn't always, in agreement on things.
Yeah.
But the majority makes the decision. And so you might not always get what your way is that you think is best for the community.
Right. I mean, when you hear what you just said, it has to do with relationships, period.
Yes.
I mean, you're not, me and my wife don't always agree. You're not going to agree with your best friend or whoever, your parents. So,
but it's how you deal with that disagreement.
Exactly.
So you still have to respect somebody else's viewpoint. You don't have to try to sway them to your way of thinking. I've been open to, several of the groups of people that want change in the community. I want that as well. However, right now, as a board member, I have to follow the governing documents that tell us what we have to do now, and that's what's enforced. And so until there is change, and it takes a lot to make a change here, those are the guidelines that I have to follow. And so it's frustrating at times, but I hope that people can understand that.
Do you think that this role that you're in right now is going to help you in whatever next role that you're going to do in the future? Because you're going through a lot, right? I'm assuming you are.
Yeah.
And this amount of pressure and responsibility, have you ever had this type of pressure and responsibility before?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I was a Lions Club president for a while.
Okay.
As well.
Oh, yeah. President's experience. Okay.
And it was great. That was a lot more, that was very community minded as well in a different aspect. So when I was the Lions Club president, I grew the membership, almost doubled it, reached out to older members, got them more involved. I got ways for us to help our community, whether by, fundraising or just being of service, giving of service. So kind of like what we do here, community cleanup, that was something that I'm used to doing and providing. And so I love volunteering my time. I used to volunteer at Children's Hospital for several years. Like I said, I was involved in the Lions Club in my hometown. And then, I served in a sorority in college, and you're very service-oriented there as well. And so it's just kind of something that it's always been a part of what I want for my life is giving.
Well, that's good. That's very good. Recently, I interviewed my friend Leslie. She's a chef, an estate chef. She was, and she was just telling me what it's like, being a woman in the kitchen when it comes to some chefs that are from other countries.
Ah.
Yeah, there's things I didn't know, but it seems like I have a theme going on because I have another friend. She was a pilot back in the 70s.
Wow.
And she was telling me stories about how it was being a woman. So do you find yourself...
you want my story?
I want your story. I want to hear your story of...
As a female.
As a woman, yes.
So it's not as often now, but in my previous company, I was overseeing construction of, $40 million, $80 million projects. So I'm out in the field and surrounded by nothing but men. There aren't many women. And so first off, they immediately discount you because you're a female. And secondly, if you're attractive, then they also discount that. So,
but if you weren't attractive, okay, right.
If you are attractive and smart, you can use it to your advantage. And I hate to say that, but sometimes that will get them to pay attention to you. And then when you have their attention, you can hit them with your knowledge.
Strategy.
It is.
Strategically using your mind and basically getting the job done or getting the mission accomplished because of the way some men are.
Yes.
You have to do these type of things. So
there aren't many females in construction. It's growing, but it's rare that you see a female out in the field.
Do you ever get intimidated by anybody or any, like like when you were saying you were the only woman in the construction business doing what you were doing, one of the few,
No.
Do you get intimidated?
No.
Do they try to push you away? Do they try to test you?
But I find a way, and whether that's being kind to them or being respectful of what they can teach me, that goes a long way in establishing that relationship. And then, I've always said, you're never going to know it all. And I don't know what I don't know. And so I ask a lot of questions. And I think that goes a long way in creating mutual respect.
That resilience is what I'm talking about that you have. Now, let me ask you this. Do you feel like when you're someone's trying to push you away or whatever they're doing to discourage you, does that drive you or fuel you to try even harder or be better?
With that person?
Like in general, when people...
In general?
Yeah, because you're a woman and you said sometimes it can be tough for you. For some women, they quit, they give up, they stop. They get intimidated or they get...
I don't quit.
Right.
I'm just going to keep working harder.
Okay.
Until I prove myself.
So maybe it fuels you
It does.
a little bit. That's good. I mean, that's a perfect match.
It may take longer. Here's a good example. So when I was put on the board, it wasn't a unanimous vote for me to be appointed to the board. Okay. There were some no's that didn't want me.
Yeah.
However, I came in. I showed that I am willing to work hard, that I have a perspective on things that maybe some others don't, based on my experience. And I think just proving myself over and over that I'm here, I can be counted on, that I work hard, that I care about this community and the neighbors, it changed their opinion on me.
Wow. I love to hear those type of stories.
And I've changed my opinion on people as well.
Growth on both ends.
Yes.
I love
Isn't
to hear
it beautiful?
that. So if when you changed your opinion on somebody had some sort of, I guess, positive impact on you that made you look at them differently.
I think, it's very easy to believe what others say about somebody, whether you believe what, is being said about me or the neighbor does, or I believe, say you're on the board and I believe what somebody has been telling me about you.
Right.
It's easy to buy into those things. However, one of my jobs as president is to be impartial and to hear everybody's side.
Yeah.
And that's not easy because I'm a human.
Yeah.
We have our feelings and we have our egos as well.
Sure.
But I think that, just being willing to give people opportunities, not necessarily to prove you wrong, but to really show you who they are. And if you see somebody that's working hard and they care just as much as you do, even if you don't have the same opinion on things, you have a respect for them, and where you may not have had any before.
That's very good. I'm surprised that you maybe would have believed or thought something of somebody like prematurely. Like, you seem like someone that wouldn't do that.
As you're experiencing, there are some cliques within the community, whether it's going to happen wherever you live, or whether you're in high school or college or sorority or whatever. There's always cliques.
Right.
And there are some in our community as well. And I think that I was involved in several of those.
Sure.
And so, like I said, my role as the president is to be a lot more impartial than that. And so I've opened myself up to talking to people with different opinions and different viewpoints. And even the people that don't like me, and I know it, I'm still willing to have conversations and be open to their opinion and what they want to change, and hopefully give them some guidance on how that's possible within the structure that we have here.
No, definitely. Talking to someone that's maybe not open-minded, or biased, or, it could be challenging. So.
Oh, it's not. I'm not saying it isn't frustrating. It absolutely is. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to stop trying, because at some point, I think that they will see the integrity that I have, and that I care. And so maybe what they hear isn't what is the truth. And all I can do is continue to be myself, be genuine and authentic, and hope that they see that and realize that that maybe I'm different.
You know what? That's a good way to approach it, because when you keep doing what you're doing and they see, because you can't help but not to see something. Like, even if you don't like somebody, you're like, I don't like them, but they work hard. Yeah. Or I don't like them, but like some things are just obvious, even if you like somebody or not. And that's when you reach the level of respect. If someone doesn't like you, but I mean, I like this person, but they are on time, or they are whatever.
Right.
So that's really good, and I'm glad that you're gonna keep doing and just do what you're supposed to do, and work hard and be part of the community. There's one thing I did learn though, as a manager, is that culture is really important in developing and having people be part of a team. So, once we start building the culture and getting these community activities, whatever it is, and you get to meet your neighbors and other people and talk to the president and whoever's there, I think that will help. So culture is very important. That's something I really, really learned, that if you don't have culture, people are not going to either be a part of it, they're not going to want to support, they're not going to put effort. So
I think there has to be a culture of mutual respect for your neighbor, for what we all bring to the table. We all care about this community. We all want to see it thrive. We all are worried about our investment and our money and where it's going and how it's being spent. And so I think that you have to realize, again, I go back to the fact that we're all homeowners. Everybody on the board, everybody on a committee, we're all here for the same purpose, and that's to protect our investments.
Absolutely. So this is how I want to leave off. That was a great closing. I want you to maybe give out either some advice, social media, maybe something for the HOA, maybe the next event. Is anything you want to share with the homeowners and the people that are listening?
Well, we do have a next board meeting on Monday. I hope you're going to be there, 7 p.m. And I think that one thing that my grandmother used to always say to me, every conversation I had with her, she would end it in the same way, and it was to be sweet. And she was so classy. She was such a wonderful woman. She taught me to bake. I still use so many of her recipes. She taught me to not say a bad word about somebody. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. And that's how she lived her life, and I've really tried to do the same. It's not easy. I'm human. I make mistakes. But at the end of the day, I hope people see that I'm authentic, that I'm sweet, that I'm kind, and that they'll come around.
They will come around, because I came around right away. I felt the energy, and maybe that little small town girl from Arkansas could just spread her wings and give people that Arkansas deep love that you just talked about.
I try.
And I think when you do that, it'll resonate with people, and people will have no choice but to support, but to understand you. And I'm so glad you came in to talk to me.
Thank you for having me.
I got to know you a little bit better, and I'm glad you're sharing, and I'm really impressed and motivated by your story and what you're here to do, and your resilience, because resilience is not everywhere.
No.
And Steve Harvey said this one time. He was like, keep going, just keep going. You're guaranteed to not be successful if you quit. Like, that's a guarantee.
Exactly.
If you stop, you're guaranteed you're not gonna win. If you keep going, there's a good possibility that you can do what you're gonna do.
Right.
But there's no possibility if you quit. So
I'm keeping on going.
Keep going. Well, thank you, Stacey, for coming on the show. I am Rodism. If you guys want to reach us, you can reach me at I am Rodism on Instagram. Did you want to?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. Just hit me up and ask me questions, and I'll ask her questions. So that's it. Well, thank you for coming out, everybody, and have a good night.